Without you, we can't exist. You're the key to making this all happen. Thank you so much. I see a ton of familiar faces. You are all like family, and we are thrilled to see you at any event, each event, and to this golf event every year. But for those of you who haven't been here before, and for those of you who really aren't that familiar with us, very briefly, we're a Holocaust Center. And we started in the early 90s with Boris Charton and several survivors who survived the Holocaust, made their way to America, found their way to Long Island, and settled here, rebuilt their life here, had their children, and lived the American dream. But living through the worst tragedy in human history is not something you can just move on in life from. And so they needed a place to memorialize all that they had lost. Their children, their brothers, their sisters, their mothers, their fathers. And that place, with the help of Boris Charton, a lot of other good folks, some of which are even here today, the center was born. And at first it was just a memorial. And then a gentleman that some of you might know who's here, Howard Mayor, I don't know if you want to stand and say hello, I would love that. Really pushed, there you are, Howard, thank you. Really pushed a different direction, because here's the thing. All survivors, and many of us on the board, and myself, my sister here as well, were children of survivors. And there's two things that we were always told. One is, never forget. And the other thing is, never again. And the only way you can make sure that we never forget and that it never happens again is if you educate and teach people. And so you see Dana here in front of me, the beautiful woman in the front, right here, who does a lot of our videos. Zach, Tanya, our entire team, Emily, everyone there in the corner. Tanya can't stand. Everyone else can stand. Tanya's in a wheelchair because she did trip on her way out of the car today. Everyone else here can stand and tell you. Our staff works tirelessly to try to educate. We do hundreds upon hundreds of classes for tens of thousands of kids here on Long Island. And we do it on Zoom and do it for people all over America. And these classes are part of how we spread our message through. We also do informational videos. We put them on YouTube, on social media. And we fight for the good fight of good causes, because we want to create a more tolerant world. And to that end, we will stand up against those things that shouldn't occur. That's what we're teaching, upstanders, people to stand up for what's right and create the better world that we want to live in. So that's what we do. You'll see if Moji could stand up, please, for a moment. This is our new executive director. We'll be starting shortly. I can't tell you how rewarding it is to put ourselves in a position to have her. It really is great. You see some pictures here in front of what will be hopefully our new auditorium in a few years, and we want to thank the county for allowing us to do that, because this will allow us to double the amount of students we see on an annualized basis, and that's pretty important. Today, when we get to 60 or 70 kids, we're pretty much maxed out. We'll be able to do almost 200, and that will make a real difference in people's lives. I have the honor and privilege of introducing you to our honoree today, which I think many of you are quite familiar with. But first I want to mention last year's honoree, David, because, David, stand up. David Rosen introduced this year's honoree to the center 15 plus years ago. So without David, we wouldn't have Peter. So we got to thank David for Peter, for sure. The golf committee really does do an incredible job, because we could not have a better honoree than Peter Klein. I have been around here for 20 years, and I've got to meet some fantastic people. I really am privileged to be where I am right now here with you all. But of all the fine people I meet, you're not going to find someone better than Peter. You're not going to find someone more gracious, more charitable, frankly, more competent, and more committed. And what he has done with the Claire Friedlander Foundation, I think he'll tell you a little bit more about it, how he has recognized and scholarship upstanders. We've done it with him for the last 13 plus years. You know, we're here to heal the world. And that's what Peter does with the work he does. So please join me in thanking and welcoming up our honoree this year to the Klein.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Alan. I have a couple of comments here. Appreciate the kind words. Thank you all for coming. What a beautiful day. The weather certainly cooperated nicely. First off, a few thank yous to my fellow HMTC board members, of which I'm a proud one myself. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Ron Brunel, Howard, David, Beth, Yolanta, Jack Foley, Judy, Ivan, Bernie, Marilyn Maris, so many, Neil Tanner. There's so much. Thank you so much year after year. And to our staff, Taz and the great team here at HMTC, as well as the Meadowbrook staff. Well done, bravo, and thank you. I wanted to thank my team at Align Wealth. My business partner, Mark Kravitz, is here today. Thank you, Mark. And finally, a thank you to my family. Now, Irene and Kelly were here this morning, but they had to go down to Washington to do a apartment switcheroo. So they drove down this morning, but they're here in spirit. Courtney sends her good wishes, but is stuck at work. But we have Jack here, and it's been a thrill to play with Jack today. So thank you, son. As Alan mentioned, this is the 13th annual outing, and this outing, as you may know, has a lineage from Ivan and last year to David and to me this year. I am humbled and privileged to be in this position. Thank you very much. So, some background on Claire Friedlander that I think will help frame the work that we do and the work that we do here at HMTC. So, as you know, Claire was the grantor to the foundation that I serve as president of, and her story is not unique, but cherished nonetheless. When the Nazis invaded her city, and it was a city, so she was living a life like not much different than how we live our lives. She had a nice existence, a normal life, and it all turned upside down in a minute because of hatred. She was an impetuous teen. She didn't listen to those who told her to board the train, like her brother Bruno and her aunts and her uncles and her friends. She hid while they were boarded onto the train, never to be seen again. And then she ran, and she ran again, and she found her parents a town or two over, and the three of them ran, and they came upon a farm. And this farm was owned by a family, a Catholic Polish family, the Pollocks, and they took them in. They hid them at great risks to their own lives and to the lives of their children. Or if they were found out, and neighbors were telling, so they could have been found out, it could have been terrible for everybody. Now, the Pollocks did not know Claire and her parents. There was no money exchange. They had no money. But you know what they did know? They knew what the right thing to do was. And they did it. They stood up to intolerance and hatred. They did the right thing. Now, this impacted Claire for the rest of her life. She abhorred all types of intolerance, bigotry, hatred of any kind. She witnessed the goodness of people in a sea of hatred, and she always expected it to see it, especially in America, in the USA. That's what she said. She said, this is the greatest country ever. There shouldn't be any hatred here. And yet, we know there is. So Claire was my first major client. She gave a young broker a chance back 35 years ago. I helped her organize and optimize her portfolio, made her a couple of bucks along the way too. And over those years, about 20 years or so ago, she asked me to help her give away her assets. And as part of her estate planning, she asked me to make a series of meetings with various nonprofits, organizations. And, there were different types. She had a wide spectrum of interests. But little did I realize at the time, but she was grooming me to be her legacy agent. And it's an honor and a privilege to start and manage this foundation as per her wishes for the last 15 years. The foundation attempts to punch above its weight in the work that we do and the programs we support. HMTC's Upstander program, which was mentioned earlier, has been one of our, and continues to be our major and most impactful program. If you folks don't know about it, every spring we provide scholarships to young high school and middle school children here in Long Island, and we provide this due to upstander behavior. For those who go outside their social network and their social petri dish to reach out and stand up and do the right thing. Not easy for adults to do, let alone young people. But they do it, and we celebrate them year after year. That's a good thing. What do we do otherwise? Well, we have the Freelander Institute at HMTC, and there we strive to educate, as Alan mentioned, educate the thousands that come through our doors each year, and maybe more with the new buildings, and as well as many others through our digital programming efforts. We educate about the evils of intolerance and hatred, how it often starts, harmlessly with name calling and the like. Well, I got news for you guys. It's not harmless, it hurts, it's dangerous, and it has to stop. What we do at HMTC, we educate, we shine sunlight on this important topic. Together, with your continued support, I remain confident that our impact will be substantial. Thank you.